don't think you need to know anything about Ibsen's A Doll's House to come and enjoy the show, but it may kind of impact how you take on certain elements of it. The fantastic thing about Stef Smith's reimagining, and that's how I've been thinking about it, it's not an adaptation. She's taken that blueprint of those characters and the choices and kind of put them to the 3 time periods that she's chosen. So it's 1918, 1968 and 2018, so a span of 50 years each time. And it's all about the kind of different elements of women's independence and freedom and rights throughout those years as well. So 1918, obviously end of the Great War at the time, and women's suffrage, so some women finally got the vote. 1968, you had the introduction of things like the abortion pill and credit cards to give freedom and choice in a way that not only women but families didn't have before. And then 2018, hot off the press of the Me Too movement, and kind of really shows, although 100 years has passed, her idea of how much has really changed.
Sometimes we feel as though we've come further than we actually have. That's, I feel, because I felt like reading it, it almost highlighted to me how far we haven't come in terms of attitude and towards women and things like that.
The Noras in all time periods are not perfect characters. I think they've got light and dark to them, and I think that's I think if you find that interesting, then you would enjoy it just from that perspective of seeing a character who's perhaps not perfect and is making interesting choices, and how those choices would change throughout the time period.
I think there's a tragedy to all 3 male characters, really. I mean, obviously you don't condone any of the actions of some of the male characters and what they do, but I think a lot of what motivates their decisions and their actions in the play is brought on by circumstance, and I think that's what Stef Smith has really, I think that's why it was really clever to capture 3 different time periods, because it's highlighting this idea of, you know, tough societal circumstances weren't confined to that one time period in which Henrik Ibsen wrote the original play.
It's not what you see is what you get. I feel like there's a lot more to it, there's a lot of depth, there's a lot of meanings behind the story, and it's very powerful. I think it's one of those productions that will have you talking about it on the way home or in the bar afterwards.
But also take away a few things that you may not have known, whether it's historically or potentially seeing how someone else views the world and the choices that they had. I think there's a lot in here that makes you think about your parents and your grandparents and the choices that they may have made if they had been born now, and how different their lives could have been. So I think it's a connecting play if you're open to it.